Hello, 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 everybody. Thank you for being on here. I am so excited about Sheila being on here. Let's first say hello. Sheila, I was watching you in the green room. I'm like, you're Brazilian. I thought you would be like dancing to the music a little bit. She's like this. Okay, I'm getting ready. I'm like, woo, woo. I'm like, come on, where is that?
All right, all right. Later on, we'll all be dancing. It'll be
all
good.
dance. We'll
Yes.
all dance. All right, let's say hello to everybody. Come on, guys, say hello. Come on in. Oh my God, 40 of you on here. All right, thank you for being here. Give Sheila some love, you guys. This is her first time on with me, a fellow Chicagoan, and I'm so excited.
Woo.
Hello, Priscilla. Priscilla also lives in Illinois and Chicago. Me, Spark. Hello. Michelle, my belle. Hello. Hey, Chris. Good to see you. Cindy. Hello. Vicky, 4OU. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for being here. If you're new to me, say hello. If you're one of Sheila's peeps, say hello. We don't know who's watching. I mean, now there's 72 of you. Oh my God, where have you all been? All right. Kim, hello, 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 hello. Thank you for being here. As you come in, come on. And if you're new, tell us where you're watching from. I can't tell you how excited I was when you said yes, because guys, hi Gina. Kim loves Chicago. Me too. Hey, Beth. Beth's in Southern Illinois. Um, this book of yours, Family Gap Year, is such a great book. Think about it, guys. Every day we go the in and the out. We have the rat race and we have all this stuff happening. And then what? Life just becomes play, repeat, play, repeat, play, repeat. Sarah, oh my God, you're watching from the UK? It's like what, 1 o'clock in the morning. Sarah May from the UK. Hi, Joy. Happy birthday. Whose birthday? Happy birthday. Happy birthday, whoever's birthday it is. Delora, you're going to want to get in contact with Sheila because Sheila will do your book club.
Ooh.
We'll do your book club. Okay. So, hello, Elias. Hello, Sheila. I love
Yay,
Brazilian.
Brazilians. I love it. Brasileiros.
Yeah, see? And it's fascinating. This book, well, first of all, let me tell you about Sheila. Sheila, you can't tell. You can't tell. But Sheila used to be a lawyer in Chicago. I mean, she doesn't have that law luck. Who has that law luck? All right.
Right.
114 of you should know what a law luck looks like, right? And she says,
beijo. It's kiss.
Beijo. Yeah. See, I want to make everything Spanish sounding. Like when I talk to John, I'm like, no portuguesa. And he's like, you have to. We used to go to the fetish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very interesting language, but I know that Brazilian Portuguese is different than
yes,
Portugal Portuguese.
Right.
That makes sense. Okay, and look at her. Tatala, beijo. I like it. I like me so much. All right, I don't know why I'm making an Italian accent. Anyway, so you are a conflict resolution expert, mediator, and legal consultant. I'm reading the back of the book, guys, just so I have it. And look what a great picture. You are so photogenic.
Thank you. You're so kind.
It's so wonderful. So you picked up your family and you left.
We said.
Peace out. And in the book, you guys, there's a part of the book she has it. It's page 78 if you all get the book. It's like, why are you leaving Chicago? Everything is so good. Everything is, well, why would you want to go? And listen to this. They saw the bags under my eyes in Chicago and saw how sluggish I was. In Brazil, we spent our days following our hearts and whims rather than a schedule. We looked and felt lighter and healthier. We were smiling more and playful. They were not the ones asking why we came. In fact, people in the US were starting to ask, how can we go too? I love that. I just love it. It is just So tell everybody a little bit about your story.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. It's so heartfelt and really thank you all for coming tonight. I'm so happy that so many of you are sharing this hour with me and with Elias. But basically, I thought that I was doing it right. They told me, hey, you want to be successful in this world? Go to college. Great. Check. Get a good job. I'll even one up. I'll go to law school. Check, check. You should get married. Check. Have a family. Boom. Get a house. Great. So now I'm, late 30s, early 40s. I have all the things. And it's not that I'm unhappy, but I know there's more. And I'm so glad that my soul would not leave me alone. So I wrote in a journal one day because I like to journal. That was a good way for me to kind of, disconnect. And so the journal entry asked, if you had 1 year to live, what would you do? And so I allowed myself to dream. I was like, oh, if I had 1 year to live, I wouldn't go to work. I wouldn't, here's all the things I wouldn't do. It's like, well, what would I do? And I could just see and feel Brazil, this country that I was born in, but I came to the United States when I was 2. So since then, every time I visit, I'm on the clock, right? Oh, we're only here for 2 weeks. We can't go to where the rural area my mom grew up in because that's like a day's drive, So it was, I always felt like there was this whole part of my culture I knew existed, but I didn't know in the same way that my mom did or, that my aunts and uncles did. And I felt disconnected from that. And I also felt like my life with my family is more and more transactional. I'm at dinner asking my kids, did you do your homework? Is your uniform clean for tomorrow? Rather than talking about things that matter. And I knew that I needed something different. And so when I wrote the journal entry about living in Brazil and I could hear the music and smell the food and just imagine the sunshine and the people. And then, time to stop writing, time to do the next thing. I kind of put it away, but it wouldn't go away. It just kept coming back and coming back. And so that was how we initially started, just as this like crazy, like if we won the lottery kind of dream.
So how old were your kids when they went?
So my youngest was 6 and my oldest was 9.
Okay. And they are how old now?
And so now my oldest is 14 and my youngest is 11. So
what do you know? How did they shift in there?
yeah,
how did they take that change?
So I think that kids, they learn by example.
Right.
And when we told people that we were moving to Brazil, initially people were like, wow, that's so brave, and they didn't speak any Portuguese and they knew that it was going to be a challenge for them. But we also knew they're kids. And so when we told them things like, hey guys, Brazilian school is only half day, they were like, wait, what?
Sign me up. Go then. Right.
And again, the idea for my kids at the time, thinking about new kids that come to the United States, especially from other countries and how they're treated, I think they were a little bit scared. And when we got to Brazil and we're just embraced by the community we lived in, and everybody was just so excited to greet us and to help us, and they picked up Portuguese, right? They're kids, their brains are sponges. They picked it up quickly. And I say this, I love my husband. He did everything right. He tried really hard. His Portuguese was not as good as the kids' Portuguese, right? Because they were kids. And so, it was just once you, again, like the idea of like listening to your soul and being aligned, once we got aligned, especially as a family, once everybody got on board and stopped saying how crazy it was, things fell into place. The synchronicities appeared. All of the right people were in the right places to help us. And so it wasn't perfect. I'll tell you all the parts that weren't perfect, but it was just, it felt right.
So true. Because that's what, we're talking about when I go on my lives and we talk about what do you want to manifest and what is the heart saying? Because I think that's what we forget. We go with what this talks to this instead of this talking to this, and we forget about that. Where is it? Hi, Michelle. Thanks for being here. Leslie says, "Holy, yeah, of course." And look what she's making.
Oh, Mochi
Making
Cashew! Leslie, my girl.
what it is, but yay!
It's delicious cheese bread. And like the most delicious cheese bread in the world. Oh, Leslie, my heart right here.
She's in Florida.
Yes, lots of Brazilians in Florida. Lots of Brazilians.
Yeah, she's I want a noodle kugel recipe, Leslie. Noodle kugel of your people.
No, Mochi
No,
Cashew.
She's cute.
But if I can add to Elias your point about, everything is in our head, I think that aligns with like this like modern American dream where the job is your identity and everything is, who you are at work. And so the idea for me when I started telling people, they were like, "Oh, are you going to practice law in Brazil?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Well, what are you going to do?" And just even speaking out loud that I wasn't going to work at all, like I mean, people, especially my colleagues who had based, much of their life on their professional identity, just really didn't understand it up here. And I couldn't explain it very well up here because it was all coming from here. So that was definitely a disconnect. And I think that sometimes when we try to manifest and, we are like listening to our heart, I just want everyone who's listening to know that part of it is really listening to your heart and not trying to make everyone happy with what you're telling them, because so many people said to us, "Don't go, you shouldn't go, this is bad for the kid," right? There was all of that. And I think when people say those things, they're telling you more about their own fears and their own limitations and what they can't see for themselves. And so the more you do your thing and live your truth, like I said in the book, now people were asking us, people who had told me we shouldn't do it were saying like, "Oh, how did you guys make it work? Does one of you have a trust fund?" No, that's right. Like all of a sudden it became something desirable because they saw through our example that we were happy in a different way than we had been before.
And that's the key because in where is it? Right here. In this book, in Own Your Awesome, there's 27 of us. My chapter is following your heart's desire.
Yes.
It's switching the mindset by following your heart's desire. So everybody, now I did not do out of country, but I moved from Illinois all the way to Camas, Washington. And that was a 2,000-mile drive in a Toyota Prius with 2 dogs. And it was crazy. I didn't really know anybody up here.
Yeah.
And friends and family were like, "Are you sure?
Right.
Are you sure?" Something told me, my intuition and my heart is like, "No, now is the time to go." Divorced a year later, it is now time for you to step into you. And I have to tell you, I was scared crapless when I went.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? 3 months later, I started dating, and then a year later, I'm married to the one. And and the career has shifted.
Yes.
Because I have said yes to myself.
Yes.
I always say, whether you guys say God, universe, or spirit, doesn't matter, all the same. But when you say yes to you, the universe says yes back.
Yes.
We don't give ourselves permission to say yes because A, we're looking for validation, and we're looking for, I want to make sure I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. Certainty. And when you take the leap of faith, you won't have it. And I think once you become a little bit more comfortable with uncertainty, right? Because we want guarantees. We want to know if we sign on the dotted line that there's a money back guarantee, and that's not how magic appears. Right. Exactly. And so there was an element, you said you were scared crapless. I'm on a plane with my children and my husband and my house is rented. And I had a moment where I was like, what am I doing?
Right. Exactly.
Like, what if we get there? Like we got there and, we went to stay with one of my relatives and like all our stuff didn't even fit like in the elevator. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like we don't have a place. Like we're this big, huge burden and inconvenience. Like what is going to happen? and yet, you know, there were challenges and difficulties, but like I said, because we had agreed and we had made this pact with the universe and said, you know, we're listening, we're following,
Right.
it all came beautifully.
And I think for people that are watching to understand that when you have an idea and when you say, and it's a heart idea, it's not a brain idea, everybody. Here's the key, it's a heart idea. When you have a heart idea, not hard, but heart idea, I think that as you step into that, and even if it doesn't work out, what you have done is you've said, yes, I'm willing to be responsible for whatever the outcome is. And now I've learned something because it's all a lesson. It's all leading to the next step of where you want to go. And that's why guys, you have to get this book. It is just an amazing book. And you came back, and when you came back, you didn't go back into law.
No. And it's interesting because so much of the concern on the front end was, well, I have a job when I come back. Well, you know, all of that. And I get it. Like, I just want to tell everyone who's on here, because I think when people hear gap year, they just imagine that we have some money, you know, coming from some source that isn't our work. But like, it's not. Like, my husband and I had just a mortgage. We have, you know, we both had student debt. Our kids have activities. We pay for camp, right? So I just want to make sure people understand that we're not like, oh yeah, everyone can take a gap year, just get on your yacht.
Right. Right. Nothing else to do. Right. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. But at the same time, right, if, you know, the idea that you can take a gap year, I do also recognize is privileged, right? We both are, you know, professionals. So I just want to be clear, because sometimes people hear this and they think like, oh yeah, well, that's great with your trust fund. That wasn't what happened. So the idea that like, I'm going to come back and, you know, a lot of the questions we kept getting were like, well, you won't be contributing to your 401k when you're gone, you know, and those are like legitimate questions that, as, you know, a parent of 3 kids, you want to think about. But so much of the front end was about job security. And when I get back, will I have the same opportunities? You know, will they renew my contract here? Because I did a lot of consulting. Like, you know, what if I miss a year? Will they hire a different consultant? That kind of thing. And when I came back, it wasn't that it didn't matter, but it mattered so much less.
Right.
It had all changed. And, you know, and I say in the book, I didn't understand this at the time, but we outgrew our old life. In many ways, right? We're back in our house. Our kids are back in their school. My husband kept, you know, his same job, but like, we are different people and we have a different value system. And so the idea that I was going to go back to the thing that led me to want to leave in the first place was a no-brainer. Whereas before I left, I was like, oh, what should I do? What should I do? And then once we came back, I was like, I know what I need to do. I need to say, thank you so much to this wonderful career that has given me so many opportunities. You know, you and I, Elias, met through a friend that I know in that career, right? Like, so I'm grateful. I wouldn't change it. Everything has been part of the journey, but it's time for me to do something else. It's time for me to really listen to my heart. And so now I'm in a completely different line of work.
And tell everybody what that is.
So during the pandemic, like everybody else, I was like, you know what? We're all on Zoom. We're all at home. I have always been, and all my Brazilians will get this, to all my Brazilians out here, you know, like there's always that Chia, that auntie who's like, hey, you should be with him, or, oh, that boy, he's no good for you. That's me. And I've always been doing that for other people.
I love it.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm Googling and I'm like, I could get certified as a matchmaker. And I did. And I built a website and I offered people, you know, discounts, and clients came, and now I have matches and happy couples. And, you know, everyone cross your fingers. I get an engagement this summer that I really think is going to happen. So it's just, and I'm trying to also, as a dating coach, help women who were like me, who were like, you know, I don't know. It's all in my head. And I'm like, no, you got to listen to your heart. And we do exercises where we get in that heart space and really try to connect and feel what's important so that they can be happy.
That's so important. I mean, it is really, really important. And I think what we do in our coaching is we help take out the fear
Yes.
and allow people to look at the possibilities. Because if you keep the fear right here, that's all you're going to see.
That's it.
It's all you're going to see. You're not going to see the possibility of being who we are and what we can, and better yet, what we can be, and the
Yes.
possibility of what we can do even bigger than what we thought would be. I just want to go to some of the comments.
Yeah.
Amanda says, I mean, being defined by what
Yes.
we do for work. I totally get that. Totally get that. Jamie said, I need to hear this. Thank you. Priscilla said the same thing, because it is fear. It is fear about, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and do something completely different. Now, Delora, who said she has an opening for October for book club, I'm very attached to security. This would be difficult for me. And the dogs are going to bark, so I'm going to let you go
Talk to Delora. Yeah, absolutely.
Story.
So I will say I'm a Taurus, so I also love security, right? And I want to be clear about, I think Elias was saying, you know, you follow your heart, and then you obviously want to be safe and make sure that everything that you're doing is thought out and planned to the extent possible. Now, what we did was something radical. We took this gap year, we left the country. I had relatives in Brazil. I spoke the language. There was a lot that we had, you know, kind of on our side already. Your dream, Dolores, or anybody else, might not be to take a gap year and leave the country. It might not be to move away like Elias did, but there is a dream inside of you. I know there is. And for so many of us, we don't even allow ourselves to envision our dream because it sounds crazy or it's impractical, right? And so, like, I think the first step is to allow yourself, give yourself permission to dream, to imagine. And that's what the journal did for me, because it was fake, right? It's a journal. Oh, if you only had 1 year to live, like, that's not happening. And so because it was fake, I gave myself the permission to dream. And I think part of the manifesting process is give yourself the freedom to think, what if the money wasn't, you know, the most important thing? What if my job didn't matter? Like, then what would I think? What would I do? And once you have that, then you can put it back into a way that makes sense for you and your life and all of that. But please don't think that I'm telling everyone you should take a gap year and leave the country. That's, you know, if you want to, great. I can, you know, talk to you and help you. But what I'm telling you is that don't live your life in this day-to-day transactional world. And, you know, every 2 weeks, you know, or, you know, 2 weeks of every year, give yourself permission to, like, walk on the beach and say, oh, this is so nice. Like, find ways to create the magic that is in you, to live that magic, to express it. I think that for me, it has been life-changing and has made me happier and my kids happier and my husband happier. And so that's really the message.
Would you say that you live more in the moment than you have?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And part of that was just being very intentional. Before we left, we got caught up in the rat race. And so we kind of let the outside world dictate what we would be doing. Oh, well, there's piano lessons and there's soccer and there's this. And now we're very intentional. And we say, okay, each kid can pick one thing that they do as an extracurricular, because we're, you know, and we say family dinner is mandatory. Obviously, there are exceptions, but that is something that we've incorporated, because in Brazil, we really got to understand how eating together as a family was valued by society in Brazil. That's why the school is half day, because their big meal is in the middle of the day. So some kids go in the morning and then they do the lunch, and other kids do the lunch first and then they go to school. But there's this idea that this lunchtime is valuable and protected. And even for people who work in office buildings, they get a full hour, they get food brought in, and people who don't, they get like a special allowance or card for food during the day, because there's this value on meals together versus, I wrote in the book, you know, I was grateful I had time to eat a granola bar on the train. And, like that was, we didn't value that in the United States. And then this idea of family dinner, here's some chicken nuggets. And I did this. I'm not judging anyone. I know why people do this and I know why I did it and sometimes still do. But what happened when we came back was we said, how can we keep the parts that really changed us? And so now cooking is something we value and we make time for it. And other people are like, oh, but you're going to miss, X, Y, and Z. And I was like, right. But at dinner, no phones, we talk and we can ask questions, not just, did you finish your homework? We can say, hey, what do you think about this thing that happened? Was that funny for you? Tell me a little bit more about why that book, how come when I told you to go to bed and you said, no, mom, I really want to finish this book. What is it about the book that you like? Those we can talk.
Right. And I think we miss that. I mean, many of you know my story, and those of you that don't, I was adopted by Greek Americans. My parents were born here. My mom was born 1919 and my dad was born 1909. They were 46 and 56 when they adopted me. So I had the old world values of, we sit down, we talk. My mom was the queen of 1,001 questions. And she would want to know, like, here's the picture behind me. But they would say, so if I brought a friend over, oh, that person sat down and got grilled. Not in a bad way, but my parents were like, so, what are you looking for? And to do with your life and where have you lived? I mean, they were just always invested.
Yes.
And I think that's what we're missing is, are you all that are watching, are you invested in your heart?
Yes.
If you're invested in the heart or are you invested in the rat race?
Yes.
It all depends on what you want. I love this book. I'm going to show it again. I love this book. Does anybody have any questions for Sheila? Because we're talking about how you manifest. We're talking about, she basically manifested this. She really did. Not only the trip, guys, but she manifested the book.
And I want to tell everybody that at the time that I actually manifested that, I didn't really use that word. I wasn't in the woo-woo world and so I didn't understand what I was doing. And now that I understand a lot more about how intuition and energy work, I was like, oh my gosh, I was manifesting, but I didn't know it at the time. So just so you know, we're always manifesting whether we know it or not.
Right. Whether you use the word or not, you
Yes.
are always, it's like, are you doing what you need to do for you? That's the important thing. Are you doing what God, universe, or spirit would say is for your highest good?
Yes.
That's so important. Jamie is heading in the heart direction. I love that. That's really important. And I think you stepping out, Jamie, into what you're going to be doing is amazing. We were talking on a retreat and we were just talking about like, what could people do? What if you could do anything in your career, what would you do? Okay. And then Jamie and I were talking and I'm like, well, think of the things that you like to do. And if you could bottle that all up in one and shake it up and then pour it out. I didn't use this with her, but this is what I'm using right now. But if you could shake it up and pour it out and look at it and go, wow, I'll say the example for me. So my dad went to University of Chicago and my mom went there for a year and her mom passed away. So she had to not be in school. And it was always business, business, business. I mean, strong Greek family. So business, business, business. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go into business or I'm going to go into pre-med because, oh, that's good. Well, that didn't work, everybody. Let me just tell you, chemistry and I, no. Food and I, sure. Food chemistry, yeah. Regular chemistry, no. So I was people-pleasing my parents.
Yes.
And it was all about, what is it that I wanted? Well, I know that I like to teach. I was thinking about special education. I wanted to be on stage because I liked acting. And so I just always thought of else can I do? Well, when I look at my life, so like this is like being on stage. I was a massage. I went to Chicago School of Massage. I became a massage therapist and then became an instructor. So I taught. I also I was a psych major. So not that psychology is coaching, everybody, just want you to all know that. But I like the psycho-spiritual piece.
Yeah.
So I took all these pieces and here is my career. Every part of the teaching or the anatomy physiology piece that I learned, I had all these glimpses of parts of self that I was doing check, check, check. I'm incorporating in that in all I do. It's part of who I am. It's part of what brought me to this stage. And I think, what you have done, Sheila, is, all your education has brought you to this point and beyond. And being able to say, okay, when you are a consultant, you are now a matchmaking extraordinaire, I will say, and you are coaching, you are teaching people how to communicate. You're teaching people how to engage in a healthier way when it comes to relationship. And that is, let's think about it. What do lawyers do?
And to piggyback off that, as a conflict resolution specialist, I spent a lot of time as a mediator. And so I sat in a room and I had two parties that wanted to reach agreement and I would mediate. I was the neutral third person between them. And everything I did, and we would try to end up with a settlement or a deal. And it was usually two feuding parties because it's a lawsuit. But as a matchmaker, it's the same skill set in terms of I'm the neutral third party and I'm trying to help two people. In this case, it's a beautiful, right? Like union. Rather than being in the room with all that bad energy, now I can be a facilitator for something that has the potential for, as I talked about marriage, but even if the people don't get married, which, most people that go on a date with someone don't marry them, but how can you bring your authentic self on dates? How can you make your dates feel less transactional and more heart-centered? How can you live your values so that if, online dating is something that is soul sucking for you, what are ways that we can make your dating life still have you be out there meeting people, but not doing that, right? And so I do a lot of the same things that I was doing before. It's just like your story.
And not losing self, which is really important.
Absolutely.
Dolores so funny because Delora will always look at everything. She said, I'm sorry, one of the photos as a child in Michigan sweatshirt. I'm a Spartan fan, house divided.
Yeah, so that I can only blame my husband for that, Delora. He's a go blue. People who are from Michigan will know what that means. I went to the University of Illinois. I'm just happy when I see someone else wearing orange, but the people right in Michigan, they have a whole thing. And so that he brought that to my life.
Leslie said, I need your book for Gianni and Luca. Okay, then you know what? And where they're gonna find your book on Amazon.
They can buy it
on your website too.
Yep. So the photos that people are referencing, again, as kind of a solopreneur who came back and said, I'm writing a book. And again, people were like, oh, publishing this and that. I was like, no, I'm writing a book. Like, I'm not, thanks for your feedback. Here we go.
Yeah.
And then the book was born. And so I made a website. It's called familygapyearbrazil.com. So thank you, Priscilla. So if you go to the website, you'll see you can buy the book right from me. If you buy it from me, I'll sign it and, I'll send it to you. If you prefer to buy it from Amazon, great. If you want to download it on your Kindle, perfect. The only thing that I would ask kindly is if you like it, please leave a nice review, right? Because as someone who is not with Random House, every single review on there really means the world to me. Yeah. And I think I shared this with you, Elias, that I got approached by a Hollywood producer who was asking me about, are you working with someone to adapt this, into a movie? And I was like, no, but should I be working with someone to adapt this into a movie? And it's not about, yes, fame and fortune would be nice. But for me, it's really about that idea of when I can shine my light, I give you permission to shine your light, and everything is brighter. And this was a big time in my life where I felt empowered enough to shine my light. And because it was such a beautiful experience, I just want to tell other people.
Right.
I want to share it. I want to yell it. And so if you like it, please kindly leave a review. It would mean the world.
I love this for her. I want my signed copy. I love that.
So Shanteria, it's so good to see you. When she was in 6th grade, I was her teacher. So this is
wow. Where did you teach?
I did a program called Teach for America after I graduated from college. And I went to Houston, Texas, because it was AmeriCorps. And they're like, we'll send you where, there's need. And I was like, Texas, great. And again, it was all part of that journey for me, right? I went to college pretty local. It was my first time as a young adult on my own. And Shanteria was one of my students. And I'm going to say this, she was difficult. She was not easy. But again, she helped me to grow, right? She helped me to get out of my ego and be like, you know what? This is a child and she obviously needs something. And so she and I have forged this beautiful relationship. She came to my house a couple of years ago with her own daughter. So it's all part of the journey, folks. The days that, there were days I went home and said, I don't know about this teaching thing. And it's all beautiful.
I get it. When I was teaching massage in Chicago, I get it. Now, Jamie saying that that's exactly it. My love of kids, my love of all things metaphysical, the desire to change the world. Even my small business was creating with nature. Something we'll do with the kids. Theater training. All of it led me to this step. So what Jamie is doing is she's getting her training. There is a woman, Delora, can you put that? Or Priscilla, can you put that? She says we're stuck like glue. I love that. What Jamie did is there's a woman, her name is Ava, and Ava has, I want to say, I always get it wrong, Jaguar dancing something. And it's a spirit camp for kids, teaching kids about chakras, teaching kids about, thank you, Delora. Dancing Jaguar Inspiration. It's a camp for kids. So she teaches them how to block energy. She teaches them to look for their spirit animal. She teaches about the chakras and different fun ways of making this. The camp is for kids 3 to 12, I believe.
Wonderful. I hope my youngest can still go.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So I'm super excited for Jamie's journey on this. It's going to be really, really cool. Go ahead.
I was just going to comment to Jamie that because she talks about nature. And I think when we talk about being disconnected in our modern transactional world, being disconnected from nature was something that I didn't realize I was until I had the opportunity to be in nature. And that's another way that people who are like, I can't do this gap year stuff, right? But you can be in nature. And that's another way we can connect and reconnect with the earth, with, spirit, again, whatever you call it. That was something that was a game changer for my family. And when you asked, what are we doing differently now that we're home? We are in nature in ways we never were before. And that's been a really nice change.
I think that's great. I mean, I think it's that's why I do the retreats that I do. That's why people are like, oh, well, you can have it at this conference center and blah, blah. I'm like, no, we need time in nature. I tell them to go out in nature, do an exercise in nature. We sit by a fire and we throw prayers in a fire that we've written down, and we watch that piece of paper burn so the smoke goes up to God. I mean, it is that kind of vibe that you're not going to find in a corporate lobby,
in a conference room.
In a conference room, right? Exactly. So anybody has questions for Sheila? Thank you, Jamie, Leslie. This one's in Maine. Check the site. There are a few trainers this summer holding camps. I love that. Nature is so necessary for my grounding. It's so true. We forget that. We forget to be able to shut off our brain, open our hearts, and hear how God is whispering to us.
Yes.
We totally forget it. And that's why it's so important. I love being outside in nature. I know you do. You're welcome, Leslie. You're welcome. Questions for Sheila, you guys. Anybody that has want to know more about the book? Now, Sheila, you are available for talks online. You're available
Yeah.
for you would be available for a podcast as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes.
This really is my favorite thing to talk about.
I think it's great. And
Yeah.
I might call you and let you know. It all depends on how things go. I am doing something tomorrow that might lead to something
Ooh.
else, which might lead to a podcast opportunity. So I will let
Yay.
you know. I will let you know.
Beautiful. I'm cheering for you, and I know everyone on here is cheering for you too.
I'm
Um,
excited about it.
I would like to also try to connect the idea of the eating real food with connecting with nature as well. Um, because again, you know, you and I talked a little bit before we jumped on about how, you know, you kind of go into your 9 to 5, you're in this rat race, and you don't even know what you don't know almost.
Right.
And when we got to Brazil, one of the first things we noticed was so much of the food that we were accustomed to eating here, they didn't have, right? Because it was processed, and when they did have it, it was very expensive, and it was like at a special, you know, store. And so we started to eat much more farm to table than we ever had before. And I think that reinforces that connection with nature, right? Because I had a very different relationship with the food I was preparing. The people that would sell it at the farmers market, and I know here we have tons of farmers markets, but they're kind of like a special thing. Whereas, like in Brazil, that was the way a lot of people shopped. It was the feira, and that's just what you did, and you got a lot of stuff from there. And yeah, you supplemented with the grocery store, but most, you know, a lot of your stuff was from there. And so, like the people that would sell me, you know, a lot of our produce, like they made it, you know, and so like that, it was just that connection. Like we were aligned in this new way. And when we would travel in Brazil, we had the opportunity to go to the Amazon rainforest, which, you know, I talk about like out of your comfort zone. I'm a glamper, not a camper. So the
Yep.
idea
Right.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, like I was like, rainforest, like, wait, what? Like, and you know, in the book, we talk about how there was like a frog in our shower, and the guy was like, yeah, I'm sorry, you know, because I was like, I'm sorry, but could you please remove this frog? And the guy like he didn't even bat an eyelash. He was, you know, like telling me like in Portuguese, he's like, no, he's like, I'm not gonna get rid of it. I was like, why? And he's like, because if I kill the frog, you're gonna get eaten alive by the bugs. He's like, you need that frog in there. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, but so being like in the Amazon rainforest, our guide would grab things from the forest, and you know, we were like, what's that? And he's like, oh, I'm bringing this home for my mom, she's diabetic, this is natural insulin. And I had just again these moments where I was like, wait, we as humans
Right.
have everything we need, and we're all like in our, you know, US society, like fighting and yelling over the price of insulin when like there it is, it's in the forest, like it's
Right.
there for us, right? We have access to it. And so like it just, that whole idea of like we are all connected, and the earth being part of the we, I always knew it in my head, but I never knew it really in my heart. And so now I have a different relationship with Mother Nature, because I felt and saw her in a different way than I ever had.
You remember Dr. Andrew Weil, and many people that don't know, he is a traditional doctor that turned more holistic, and he was talking about gato negro, and so cat's claw is what it is, and that is found in the jungle, you guys, and there is so many things, properties that the indigenous people use
Yes.
that we you know, we could have a whole conversation on food and nature, but Sheila says, I wish real foods were not so expensive here. Yes. Kim, if you go to, I put it on there. Priscilla, can you put that on there one more time? I just have to find it, which is right here. If you go to familygapyearbrazil.com,
Thank you.
Kim, you can find that. And did you buy a live chicken in the market and then get charged for killing and plucking it?
Yeah.
What's up? Welcome to Delora's world.
Ah,
Every shower comes with a frog.
ah,
Yes, for you, Delora.
it
You get
did.
a choice of a tree frog, a poisonous frog, a large frog, or a toad. You decide. Each room comes with its own frog. Um, Danielle said, I'd be so excited to have the frog. Yes, for you, you would. I would not be. I would be right with Sheila. I would be like, pardon me.
Please.
I understand that this thing is going to help the mosquitoes, but can we put a little cage over it while I'm showering so it's not going to jump and on me? I mean, I'm not afraid of frog, but I don't know what the frog's got. And if it's like spits on me or pees on me or something, I'm just going to have a fit.
Yeah.
Lucas speaks English and Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Portuguese. Yeah, doing it. Frogs are cute. They are. Kim says, I walked again after 18 months thanks to homeopathic.
Yes. Beautiful, Kim.
I love that. So true. Even with visiting other countries, you're able to see that if they need medicine, it's often very cheap because it isn't the norm. Totally understand. So true. What would Willow do around a frog? Let me just tell you, she would Harry would chase it, she would try to eat it. So I'm just saying. Just don't lick the frog. They may be that might be fair.
That never occurred to me to lick the frog.
Yeah,
there were many things.
Not, Chris, I would not. Thank you. Thank you so much. I would love to have you come back and just share, more stories about the book and talk more about, we can go into the whole matchmaking and coaching thing. Does anybody have any questions for Sheila before we wrap up our day? Dorothy, did you just get on? Are you cheating Dorothy from work? Are you watching while you're at work?
We won't tell.
We won't tell. Here's your sign. Please don't lick the shower. Nice. That's hysterical. Yes, please. You know what? Why don't we just all go to Brazil and put give it on a shirt, lame it on a shirt, and just say, please don't lick the shower frog. That's what we'll do. Welcome to Brazil. Don't lick the shower frog. Okay. I don't think so. Of course you're sneaking on and watching from work. Of course you are. I have to thank you so much for being on here. I'm just impressed by you. You are an inspiration for so many people. And I think, if you read this book, you're going to find the inspiration within you. You'll find that sometimes you just have to jump in and know that you always have a life jacket on. I don't think God, universe, or spirit is going to allow you to fail.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And
jump right in.
Yeah. You like, again, you will be taken care of when you just take the next step that feels right. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to have the whole plan, right? You just ask, what is the next right step? And really listen to the guidance and then go from there. And I think that, kind of one foot in front of the other for someone who was much more of a planner and, I want to know what's going to happen in 5 years. Now I'm comfortable and okay not knowing what's going to happen next week. I don't know what's going to happen with this date. I hope it seems like it's a good fit, but I don't know. And that's okay. It's not for me to know right now.
Right. So true. Dorothy, you'll have to watch the replay, but you can get the book on Amazon. But if you go to and you want a signed autographed copy, you can go to, I'm going to pull it up here for you, familygapyearbrazil.com. familygapyearbrazil.com. And the book is great. You did a great job with it. It is good. I'm going to ask you a silly question.
No such thing.
Check and see if your book, or have you checked to see if your book is on Barnes & Noble?
You know what? I believe that it's not, but I have not checked. Okay. And the only reason I believe that it's not is because I didn't put it there. So
I didn't put mine there either.
Okay. All right.
And when I went to check, where is it? I usually have them all right here. Here it is. when I went to check, this book is now available on Barnes and Noble. I'm like, what?
Woo, that's wonderful. Yeah.
So I was like, you have to order it online because they normally don't do self-publishing books.
Yeah. No, that's fabulous. Congrats.
So I think it's
Love it.
I think it's great. I think yours should be on there. So I'm gonna envision it. Now, guys, what do we got coming up? We got a couple things coming up. Next Wednesday, we have my friend Intisar Ben Halim. She is she's has a master's in social work. She is an amazing woman. And what we're going to talk about is honoring your inner journey. And she is a Gestalt theory specialist. And we're going to really look at, kind of like we're wrapping this month up because this theme was about honor. How do we honor ourselves and the journey that we're on? I mean, you guys saw that Sheila honored herself in this journey and this continued journey that she is on. So it is, it's fascinating to me. Please join us. She's been on with us before. We also have, I'm looking at my schedule. We got Messages from Above on the 29th, and that is going to be at New Renaissance Bookstore. If you are in the Portland, Oregon area, I'm in Camas, so it's about 20 minutes for me. If you're there, come join me. Come join me. Let's see. What did, yes, the books will be there depending on the publishing platform you use. Good to know. Thank you very much. Thanks to Laura. And yes, thank you. So guys, run out today. Get the Family Gap Yearbook. Delora, if you need Sheila's information, let me know. And you can talk to her about being a part of your book club that you guys are doing. And that's going to be exciting. And thank you. Yes, thank you. I almost forgot. Thank you. Tonight, if you guys aren't doing anything, about like, what, in 2 hours, and you're up late because it's 8 o'clock my time. It's 10 o'clock in Chicago, Midwest, Central Time, and it would be 11 o'clock Eastern Time. You want to do a little late night chit chat? We want to do a little bit of maybe some intuitive type stuff. I might give you a meditation. I might pull a card. I might just give you an information from the angels. So whatever you need, it's all good. Sheila, hold that thought. Everybody else, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. Remember, we are here to connect. And when we connect, we educate. And we educate, we grow. There is unity in community. From our hearts to yours. Take care, everybody.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
And we'll talk.